Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wait, What Are We Talking About podcast, episode 170. My name is Bret, aka Enigma911, and today, once again, I am joined by Jeff, aka Jeff Reg, or Jeff Reg Gaming. Jeff, how's it going today?
It's Sunday, you know.
Yeah, you know.
But yeah, not too bad. Not too
Good.
bad.
Good. Appreciate you hopping on, especially kind of last minute for this to the podcast. I appreciate
No
it.
worries. I mean, no, you asked me a couple days ago, like Thursday or something, and I was like, yeah, probably. I just got to check, and then I just forgot.
Life happens.
Until like yesterday, and I was like, oh, hey, I got to do this thing, and Jeff Wife was like, oh, that's sweet.
Well, I appreciate it regardless. Remember, guys.
And like a half hour before we started, she's like, what are you doing tonight? And I'm like, what?
Remember, guys, you can catch the podcast live over on twitch.tv/enigma911. Usually every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can join the chat, join on the fun and the conversation. We'd love to have you there. But if you can't catch it live, that is A-OK. Go to YouTube and podcast services the very next week where it's broken out topic by topic and put as one big video in MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, any way you can support the show, likes, reviews, comments, shares, whatever it is. It may seem small, but it does help the channel grow, helps the show out. So whatever you guys can do to support would be greatly appreciated. So we got the veteran Jeff back on the show. Two topics today. I don't know.
What number is this?
If you're not in double digits, you're like approaching. You might be like 8 or something. I don't know. You're getting up there. But we're going to be talking two main topics today. We'll see. We, tend to ramble and talk a lot, so maybe there'll be a third. But our first topic today, we kind of wanted to break down our experiences with the little game. We've kind of played almost through twice now. We've been playing on stream for a while. Want to talk about Grounded. So yeah.
Say first time, based on what we've done this time, like we did not get nearly as far as we thought we were, I would think.
Yeah.
Like, based on, like, all the stuff we've done and figuring out things. Like, we're definitely we've figured out more things, we've discovered more things, way further more into the world and the game than we ever got with the beta.
Yeah. So, if you guys don't know what Grounded is, it is essentially kind of like a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids situation. Your kids shrunk down to the size of bugs, dealing with insects and trying to figure out what's going on.
Did you? Because I remember asking you when we originally played it if you'd ever seen it, and you said no. Have you seen it?
Not yet. No, it's still on the list.
Watch Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
One day.
All right, moving on.
So yeah, it's a survival, I guess you could say horror if you're scared of insects type game. But it's resource gathering and management, and it's going after different bases and obstacles to kind of figure out why you guys are shrunk down, figure out the backstory, and then hope to get back to your regular size and go from there. It's kind of
like your Rust, your Daisy, that kind of thing.
Yeah, a lot of definitely similarities between games. So it definitely has that. There is a narrative, but it's more focused on that open world survival building-esque type thing.
Most of the storyline seems to evolve around Wendell's like failing marriage.
Yeah.
Like the actual plot.
For sure. So yeah, I mentioned we kind of played through it twice. We played the early access build on Game Pass that they had available through Xbox, and then as of this past September, as of recording, they released their full release. So we kind of started fresh and went back through that. So yeah, Jeff, just in general, what are your overall thoughts of Grounded, whether it was, in comparison the early access to the full release, or just as a whole, what has been your experience with the game?
It's been a lot of fun. I mean, those kind of games those were like the popular multiplayer team games before like PUBG and like the Battlegrounds Battle Royale kind of thing stepped onto the scene. It was a lot of like Rust, Daisy, too many others to think about, where it's like, okay, like you're just dropped in, you have to gather resources, build a base. There's other players in there sometimes, or it's just, PvE. It's a really unique setting, and it's a little bit more cartoony than a lot of the other ones, which is nice, because a lot of them like took themselves like really seriously, which could be fun, but also my earpiece fell out. also like it's more fun with it being so much more colorful and a little bit more like there's a lot of comedy in the game actually.
For sure.
And I feel like they've added more with the full release. They also changed some stuff with the full release that I really like. How the world can now be shared.
Yeah.
Like before, it was like fully on your system, and I couldn't do anything. And now, like, say you died in a tunnel, and I want to get your stuff back, and also just kill some bugs. I can do that after you end for the night. Look, like I said, a lot of good comedy, and they really fleshed out like because we didn't get any of the cutscenes or anything originally. It was fairly like in the early release they focused on the building and the combat and the world, not so much on the like exploration. There's definitely more landmarks, more storyline cutscenes. Burgle has way more to say. It's been a lot of like minor quality of life improvements to the world, not just like the game map, but like the world the story exists in.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like that's the biggest area of change. Like, it didn't feel like much changed gameplay wise. It felt like we were running through the same stuff, not in a bad way, but just like, oh yeah, this is exactly how we handled it in the early access, even if we did get kind of slapped a little bit harder.
We had just as hard of a time getting started.
Yep.
Like, once we got going, we accelerated faster, but like we had just as difficult a time of getting from like say 0 to 25 miles per hour.
Yeah, that first base, we were chugging along like, oh my goodness.
I mean, think back to the base we built in the original, like looking back at it, like it was so tiny, and now like I spent like an entire evening one night building that, and then you came and you're like, oh, this is not what I was talking about, but we've made it work.
Yeah, it definitely works. Yeah, the little outside perimeter defense, and then our makeshift semi-tower base, and a basketball stadium, because that's always needed. Recreation.
Hey, I mean, I built like all the building stuff, the wheelie station, all the Doom collectors and stuff, and you built a basketball court.
Yeah.
So we've each contributed in our own ways.
Balance. But yeah, for sure, the story aspects have been definitely where the differences have been seen. I know, or I also have noticed a little bit of building stuff they did improve, or kind of make a little bit more user friendly.
Extra stuff that you can unlock.
Yeah.
Above like the base stuff, like they kept all the basic, like, oh, you just have this and you can do it.
Sure.
But like now, as we get more chips and teeth and stuff, there's all these extra things.
Yeah.
That we didn't have originally.
Yeah, we didn't really invest too much in that in the beta, and even now, I guess kind of we haven't found as much of the resources.
We haven't been looking for
teeth
that much. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Like, and we've seen a bunch of them. We just haven't really like spent time to like go back and hunt them down. Mostly because I'm still not entirely sure how the mechanic works.
Yeah, that is a little confusing, and I wish they worded that better. So, chat and viewers, if you guys don't understand the teeth mechanic, obviously, because that's kind of unique, but it's kind of like a super rare resources where there's molars around, either regular or there's gold teeth, and you use these to kind of get more crafting abilities for yourself, depending on the progress of the story you've made. And some of them are shared, some of them are not, so it's very weird in that regard.
And it's not just crafting stuff. We also got like new skills, new mutations. You can get like emotes and stuff, like the stickers, which like I think I'm the only one who's actually used the stickers on the chests to like change the
label
above them. Yep. But like abilities and stuff like that, and I think most importantly, aside from the building, like the upgraded recipes.
Yes.
Like the lantern plus, the torch plus, those. Because God knows we somehow never have enough lanterns with us.
No. You would think we would learn by this point, but no, we always forget or run out.
Not only do we not know, we're never like, we don't even like, okay, we need to make a lantern. What's the recipe again?
Right. Nothing's memorized. And I mean, they are very forgiving or lenient with the crafting stuff. Like, it's not anything you have to memorize or anything. They have a whole like encyclopedia of like just looking it up and seeing what you need. Obviously, if you haven't discovered the resource or anything like that, then it will be left not blank, but kind of still as a mystery. But at least you know there's a component you're missing. But yeah, the crafting that they do have, whether it's tools, armor, resources, whatever it is. Very simple, all kind of laid out very nice. And I don't think they have it where, like, if you just look at a resource, it can tell you, like, what it can be used for. I think we tried doing that, but...
I think there's a way, because we definitely have different UIs when we look at things. Like, I can look at a wall section and see, like, what percentage it's at, and, like, I can see every wall section that's damaged is highlighted.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You can only get up and, like, look up close and see what's required to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, there's definitely... Like, we have not bothered to go into the settings enough.
No, also we are playing on 2 different generations of hardware. Jeff's going to be playing on the Series X. I'm playing on the Xbox One. So there is that generation gap there. Like, I remember popping into your videos. I'm like, whoa, this looks way better than what my game looks like. Like, it's so much brighter and there's more detail. I'm like, whoo, okay.
Oh, I did spend a lot of time, like, optimizing, like, the visuals and everything, too, so...
Yeah, it definitely shows. It looks great. So what have you thought about, obviously we've run into a wide variety of bugs and insects throughout our experience from both playthroughs. What has been your thoughts on either combat or just like how that interaction has been?
Combat's generally the same across the board. Like, you need to have your armor, it needs to be in good quality, and you need to know, like, what the weakness is, and then it's basically just, like, for the most part, going in and just smacking the crap out of things, you know? Obviously, you know, the spiders are the things we've had the most problem with because they seem to be the most prevalent in important areas. And I would actually say, like, I would say I was the most worried about the diving bell spiders because it's the last place I expected to see a spider was in underwater.
Right.
But they are the ones I've definitely killed the most of as well, I think. So, again, it's like, you know, figuring out, like, okay, well, what is it weak against? What type of attack? And then just going in. And I've always got my shield, and you still don't bother with a shield. You just, you know, go in and smash. And I think you more try and, like, maneuver yourself and pay more attention to your surroundings, where I'm just like... But then you have things like the mosquito, which we did kill a couple mosquitoes in the early release version, and we have only managed to kill one so far. I still don't have my mosquito needle sword, which sucks because that makes combat so much easier because it gives you health.
Yeah, the leech ability.
Yep. But we've definitely, like, cataloged and collected a larger variety of enemies, and some of the things I feel like they definitely adjusted some of the difficulty on certain enemies, because, like, we never beat that boss, mutated ladybug in the haze lab, and you fucking bodied it.
I don't remember. I remember the fight. We might have beat it, but it definitely took...
We kept hiding out in the hallway because the door didn't shut, and we just tried and fight arrows.
Okay.
But it would keep spawning larvae. This one only spawned like 2 larvae and a limited amount of... I don't remember if it kept spawning mites or if it spawned a limited amount. And I wasn't there for like 60% of the fight too. So that's the other thing.
Yeah, that was that was interesting.
Your name go back and forth.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Some adjustments they did make, or they did make some adjustments with the bugs, because yeah, it seems a little bit more difficult in places. Like you mentioned,
in places.
Yeah, the mosquitoes specifically.
Spiders are definitely harder all around. But like other things don't seem to necessarily chase you as far, or they don't get aggroed quite as quickly. The spiders and the mosquitoes are definitely tougher, just overall. Yeah. But like, I mean, ants, like we more or less, as long as we're prepared, like we can take on a whole freaking... We probably could do like one of those wave things on our own at this point.
Yeah, I don't know.
We haven't done that yet either, so...
Yeah, no, for some reason the ants always have a problem with me, and I'm like, what did I do?
Well, you do like just killing everything you see.
Well, I need resources.
There's like some kind of point system in the game, and you're going for high score.
So yeah, a couple of adjustments with the bugs. You mentioned mutations earlier, so the mutations can either be unlocked with the milk molars and stuff like that, or they're pretty much kind of unlocked through just natural gameplay progression, whether it's defeating a certain enemy type or doing something over and over again, swimming, running, etc. How have you?
Grass. That was surprising to me.
Which one?
Oh, I'm better at chopping grass now.
Oh yeah. So yeah, we've discovered a few of them. Definitely not all of them, but how do you feel that's added to the gameplay mechanic or progression as we've gone through?
It definitely helps in certain situations, but there's also certain things that like I still don't understand quite how they work, because there's a series of mutations that we generally have at least one of them on, and it's either like speed based, like it either increases your stamina or it gives you like the quickness,
Sure.
but it doesn't actually say what it does. And like, okay, well, stamina, like I can run for longer, but like, what does the quickness do? Does it make me run longer? Like, so I just kind of mix and match depending on what I feel like we're going to need and hoping it works out.
Sure.
I think the biggest variation we had was when we were dealing with the pond, because we switched over entirely from like stamina and like running based, so we could run away, to like oxygen and like movement speed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but it's nice because it gives you an extra level of like, okay, well, I'm having problems with this one area, like let's take a look and see if I actually have anything, because there's times I've unlocked mutations and like completely forgotten about it immediately,
Mm-hmm.
and then gone back and be like, oh, this would be super helpful.
For sure. Good catch. Yeah, they've been a good addition, and I'm curious to see what other ones they do have, and I wonder if they have like a progress bar to unlock, like tell you when you unlock certain ones or different stages of ones that you already have. I'm not sure.
If you have unlocked them, you can see how much there is to go to get the next level.
Oh, okay.
Because you can upgrade them.
Gotcha.
But if you haven't unlocked them at all, you have no idea what you have to do to unlock it. That being said, I found there is, and thanks to Reggie's help as well, I found there's a pretty extensive wiki for the game now, as opposed to when we originally played it.
Sure. Well, good for them. Good for players to really crack down on stuff. Sometimes, communities just go nuts and kind of create their own encyclopedia and resources
Everything gets
for
a
it.
wiki nowadays.
It's true. It's true. And then, what have you thought of this story that we've seen as we've kind of continued through the full releases playthrough?
I am still really confused because like there was no story in the original one, no plot, like to the point where like we actually had an opening cutscene.
Right.
This time around, all of the like in-game stuff, not cutscene wise, is like just following Wendell, this scientist who is developing this. He made this shrink ray, and he's trying to use it to like. Essentially, it starts out like making some kind of smaller superfood that he can then enlarge. It's like, okay, it takes less resources to make this small thing. Let me make it big, and then like it's the equivalent for more people. And we've just slowly been watching him, like his family fall apart, and like his wife get fed up and take the kids and throw the ring in the pond, and then him name the fucking fish after her. And just slowly go insane and build his broccoli people. And I think we found one last time around where like he fully lost it. Like when he was in the haze lab, and then like he had to abandon it. Like, okay, you were breathing in this gas way too long. But that's all like the in-game stuff. Anytime we beat a lab or we get a super chip, the next time we rest, we seem to get a dream sequence that shows us like, because the kids have no memory, basically, more or less, right? Like they have amnesia. It doesn't. They haven't made a point of like pointing out like they don't remember what's going on, but also like they don't talk about their lives or their parents or anything.
Right.
And we assumed that they were like his kids, and it was like a Honey I Shrunk the Kids thing, but it seems like they got shrunk in some other lab, and then got like airdropped in a suitcase.
Right.
Which we were always super confused about. I was like, okay, well, if they're his kids, why did he put them in a suitcase and then throw it in his backyard? So there's definitely something going on. There's like corporate espionage. We know it's the 80s now, so there's like concerns about like communists and things. I'm actually really intrigued to see where it goes, because we got introduced to like a big bad evil scientist last time around, I think.
Yeah, at least
in one of the cutscenes when they're like in that little, the kids are in that container and we have those like big, doofy rubber hand things on, and like there's a scientist who's like, fucking kill him, get rid of these kids, and then it's like that's the first time we've mentioned. Or I don't remember his name, but we've read about him in some logs and stuff we found because we know that Wendell used to work for this company. And then, like, he got his project and his research taken away and got fired. And, like, everything he's been doing here has, like, he's been doing it at home on his own to, like, show them up, basically.
Gotcha.
Like, I'll teach you to steal my research. Damn you, corporate America.
Yeah, it's been interesting seeing what they're going for. I mean, it's kind of a testament to these games where... Maybe not testament's not the right word, but like a factor of these games where sometimes the story elements feel so few and far between that sometimes it's hard to make that connective tissue or kind of keep that thread going of what's going on. Because I remember reading stuff and then obviously the scenes we've seen, but sometimes I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. We're just small and we're trying not to be small.
They don't want the story to get in the way of the game, so they treat, like, even the cutscenes, they treat it like flavor text. Like, you can go talk to Burgle every time you have a dream and get more information from him, but, like, it's not important to anything that you're actually doing, you know? You still have to, like, oh, we know that if we stay shrunk too long, our brains are going to degrade, so we have to get big again. Like, presumably, you know, part of the reason we don't have any memory is because of that degradation. If we can get big again, everything comes back, and, like, you know... How many days have we been in this guy's backyard and he has not, like, walked outside once? You know, there's gonna be something at the end that's like, okay, for the people who were paying attention to the story, like, here's your payoff.
Right. You know? Yeah, which I am looking forward to, of seeing, like, what is the conclusion of this game, like, because most survival games, you know, you finish it and then obviously you keep going from there. Like, are we going to be able to get big? And if so, like, is it going to be a point of no return? Like, oh, if you go past this, like, there's, you know, you just pick up at that checkpoint if you decide to keep playing or whatever it is. And
yeah, there's got to be some kind of sandbox mode.
Yeah. And then I wonder if we're going to run into Wendell at all. Like, is he going to be a boss or is he going to be
Wendell
something?
Is the Orb Weaver Queen.
Oh, he got transferred into that?
He is the Brood Mother.
Interesting.
It's going to be like a drow. It's just a spider body and then his torso coming up out of the thorax. Just
there you go. I don't know. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about Grounded or can think of?
It's fun. I mean, and it's one of those things, like, because I got into this I don't know if it was the last year or the last 2 years, but I got really into these kind of survival games where you have to, like, gather resources and manage your food and stuff like that. And it started with, I think, The Forest, and then, like, really, really hit hard with The Long Dark, and I'm still waiting on them to release episode 5. They keep releasing these expansions to their, like, free play mode. It's like, no, give me the story. There's one episode left. Do it. And then Green Hell and I think some other things. And this one is definitely scratching that itch right now. But, like, I've just really been into them, and it's a fun. It's different from a lot of other games right now. And this is going to tie into what we're going to talk about with the next topic, because a lot of games, it's like, okay, it's 60 hours. There's a huge ass storyline. You know, it's all, you got to backtrack and go to things and unlock abilities to do new things. And there's a little bit of that in here, but it's like, it's much more just sandbox. And like, okay, this is clearly designed to be like depending on your skill level, like 20, 30 hour, you know, it's not meant to be a super long game with like a bunch of like progression skill based stuff. It's like, okay, you just learn and then you go.
Right.
And that's it.
Yeah, you don't have to make it this big thing. Like, obviously, we've taken a while with it either because
hours to climb.
right, because we've been getting, you know, hit hard because we're unprepared, or we take a stream or whatever to build a basketball court. But yeah, it could definitely be something a little bit more streamlined if you know what you're doing and you have that attack plan. I'd be curious, because obviously we've been playing it multiplayer the whole time. I would be curious how the experience differs from a single player experience compared to a multiplayer
I
experience.
assume single player, you just lower the difficulty and go from there.
Right, because just imagining attacking some of these bugs or the robots, just like, oof, that would be a bit rough.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Are you still playing on arachnophobia mode?
I am, yeah. I figured I would just give the viewers that option.
So you're just fighting jelly beans?
Yeah.
Did they look like that underwater too?
Yes.
Oh, that's terrifying. I already don't like jelly beans. That makes it so much worse.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, either way, whether it's the blob or it's the actual spiders from watching your gameplay, it's just like, holy crap, like, it's intimidating.
Yeah, I don't know what's worse, because, like, a spider's like, okay, I've seen a movie about, like, 50-foot giant spiders attacking, a small Wisconsin town or whatever from the 1950s. But, like, and that's terrifying because they're big and they have, like, 8 eyes and they come out of nowhere. But also, like, just a floating blob, just this, like, flesh-colored orb that's not quite circular, not quite, like, an oval or a cylinder, just coming at you, and then, like, you just die. It's like, oh, that's like some, like, creatures from beyond the edges of the universe Lovecraft. Like, I can't, the reason it looks like this is because my brain can't comprehend its true horror.
Right. But yeah, it's been a fun experience. I've been enjoying playing through it and see what we can do, and yeah, it's been an interesting ride for sure. I'm curious if they'll keep building on this or if they'll just move to their next project.
Yeah, it was Bethesda, right?
Yeah, it's Obsidian Entertainment.
Obsidian, yes, Obsidian. And I mean, the only Obsidian, I mean, like, they did New Vegas, which is my favorite Fallout game of all time, and they made 4 DLCs for that. I would think we would have heard by now if there was gonna be an expansion or something like that, but the fact that they're kind of putting their toes into this kind of pond of genre of game is interesting, because they do tend to do really good games.
Yeah.
The point where, like, as I said, like, of the last 3 Fallout games, theirs was my favorite. So.
Yeah, it's a whole nother story to get into.
That's a whole other podcast.
Right.
And 180 hours of gameplay.
Something like that. Well, that's going to wrap up topic 1. So let's move over on to topic 2, as Jeff alluded to earlier. Jeff, what are we talking about for topic 2? If you want to lead this one. So
yeah, this is Enigma presented it as my topic, but this is much like Grounded. This is a shared thing between us, because it's something we've both experienced, but I think we have experienced it in different ways and come at it from different perspectives and from different causes. We're going to be talking Burnout, people. Good old-fashioned Burnout. Everybody gets it at some point or another. It's just when you have something and, like, it's just like, like, what am I doing? Why am I
right.
doing? What? Nope, I'm gonna do anything other than this. As a, like, really boiled down sort of thing.
Sure.
Now I don't know how you want to approach this, because again, this is something we've both dealt with, especially in the last, like, 2 years. Something that everybody deals with. You have been at this whole thing a lot longer than I have. And I feel like you, at least from when I've been tuning in, you hit it way later than I did.
Sure.
But, like, I was also, like, I got my start different, and when I hit it, I was doing a lot of extra things other than just streaming.
Right.
And so there's a lot of, like, we could cover, like, okay, what is it, the causes, how you handle it, what you think it means, things like that. So I'm not sure how, like, this is a big pond. This is, like, me and Lady talking Mass Effect.
For sure.
This could go on quite a while,
Yeah, Burnout's definitely an interesting one, because, yeah, as you mentioned...
laugh in the background at that?
Because as you mentioned, yeah, I kind of hit it later on. I hit it definitely hard last year, and I think, as you also mentioned, like, it's kind of extra factors. So, like, we've been making content, on Twitch, on YouTube, whatever, for a while now. Like, I think I've been streaming 8 years at this point, and then YouTube's just a little shy of that. And yeah, last year it just kind of hit hard of just, like, lack of motivation. Should I even do it? Questioning a lot of things. And at least looking back at it now in hindsight, a big factor that I would say is the outside factors of maybe I was just doing too much at once. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, hold on. I was going to say, first, before we get into that,
Sure.
let's define burnout.
Smart.
And so, for me, the best way I've heard it described was somebody, I don't remember if it was my therapist friend or somebody else, they boiled it down to burnout is what happens when you put more into a project or a thing than what you get out of it. And you keep doing that over an extended period of time until those scales are so unbalanced that it's just not sustainable.
Right. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, it's definitely that feeling of like lost, not really accomplishing stuff or achieving what you want to. And yeah, like you said, that effort going into it isn't being rewarded or balanced, it feels. So yeah, I kind of ran into that last year, majority. Like, there's still parts of it now that we'll definitely talk about. But I felt like, looking back at it, it was a lot of like different factors going into it, of like a lot of things were going on, and that kind of bled over into the streaming side of stuff. Where yeah, it just felt like you mentioned too, like, why am I doing this kind of thing? So yeah, it seems like, at least from our discussions, either on stream or off stream, like you kind of are going through that now yourself, it seems.
A little bit. So I would say, to follow up with that first step of defining it, I would say let's look at it, because I think there's different types of burnout. And for content creators like us, the most common type is just the basic, like, putting more in than you're getting out. Like, you're streaming multiple times a week, you're editing, you've done research on, like, okay, what's the best camera, you spent money on it, like, how do I get the best audio quality through settings, things like that. And you're doing this and you're putting everything into it, and like, you're just not seeing the returns that you want. That's your kind of basic burnout. And that happens with most content creators at some point or another. There's also like the external factors, where it's like, it's not that you aren't getting what you want to get out of this, it's that there's so much going on that what you're getting out of this is outweighed by all of the other stuff that is demanding your attention and your energy. And I think there's a third type, but I don't know how to define it.
Sure.
But I think that also kind of leads into, like, there's different levels of burnout. There's like, okay, like, I'm just tired, I'm gonna take like a couple days off or whatever. That's like the first level. And the second level is like, okay, like, this is not working. Like, what is going on? Why am I doing this? And then the third and final level is like, I would rather fucking do anything other than this.
Sure.
Like, fuck all of this, And yeah, it's again, what type you get depends on where it's coming from and like how long it's been going on. And like I said, for content creators, the type that happens most often, especially for like littler guys like us, like just the burnout of like, okay, I'm putting so much of my energy into this, and I'm not seeing the numbers or whatever, that I'm hoping to see, despite like doing everything I can. Whether like I don't want to say like either of us chase trends or anything like that, but it's like, okay, like this is, I thought for sure this was gonna be a hot one, and it's just like nothing,
Yeah, I definitely agree with the levels, because yeah, they're like, there's burnout in healthy way. Sounds like I'm describing it the wrong way, but like, obviously anything you do.
No, you're not, because it depends on how you react to it. It can be extremely healthy because it's a warning sign, but it depends on like you recognizing it and reacting appropriately.
Sure.
So, sorry for interrupting.
No, you're good. So you mentioned the first level, like, hey, just realizing I'm tired, I gotta take a break or something. Like, that's good, because you're recharging, you're taking that time to mentally reset, physically reset, whatever it is. Just kind of, something's not right, change the path. Whoop, let's do something for yourself or just differently, to hopefully reset, quote unquote. So yeah, I definitely recognize that one. And then, yeah, level 2 of, like, just questioning everything, like, why things are going on.
I want to quit.
Exactly,
you know?
yeah,
like,
just...
Am I at the point where, like, have I outgrown this? Do I want to quit?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to, but, like, is it worth it?
Mm-hmm.
That's the middle level. And then, the last one is, like, fuck this.
Right, yeah. Which...
Burn it to the ground. I don't care that it's in my house. It's all getting set on fire.
Yeah, I would definitely say I've experienced all 3 levels that you're describing. Maybe not in terms of content creation, but in terms of, like, across anything. Like, I've talked about, Taekwondo in the past, and, like, there was definitely a point where I had reached that stage 3 of, like, no, I don't care. And that could have been from other factors, like I said, like working there for so long and interactions with people of just, like, I'm done. And it's gotten to a point with time where, I'm open back up to that opportunity. I'm not doing anything right now to chase after it, but, like, during that time period, yeah, it definitely was, nope, this is not what I signed up for. I'm not getting anything out of this that I want to. And at least if we're, focusing on the content side of things, like, I'm very fortunate that I haven't gotten to that point with content creation, YouTube, Twitch, streaming, whatever. But yeah, I can definitely see, like, the lingering factors of that stage 2 of, like, if that kept going, or keeps going, like, it could go down that route. And it really leads to a lot of questioning of, like you said, like, is this even worth doing? Because you kind of almost feel not guilty, but, like, I don't know how you feel. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I've questioned myself a lot where I'm thinking about it, or I'm in that, like, mindset, and I'm like, oh yeah, I want to stop, or, like, questioning myself, it's not worth it, it's not worth it, it's not worth it. And then I'm, like, fighting against it kind of thing, where I'm like, oh, but if you stop, you failed, or you're not getting the fun out of it that you want, and, like, there's still that force that wants to do it kind of thing.
You're not wrong. Guilty isn't a bad way to put it at all. And that's why that second stage is the most dangerous, kind of, because that's when you can still argue. Like, you've pushed yourself past the point of, like, okay, I just need a night off or whatever.
Sure. You
pushed yourself past that point, but, like, you still kind of want to do it, but also you're like, something's telling you that this is not working. So it's like, okay, well, like, yeah, I should just take some time off. Or, like, maybe this isn't for me. It's like, but I've spent so much money on, camera,
sure,
microphone, green screen, things like that. Or, like, this is the only way I talk to these people. Like, what happens when I stop? Are they just no longer in my life? It's a lot of things like that, or, like, like, I've already been talking about Extra Life in the fall. Like, if I stop, all of that was for, it's this thing of, like, I've already put so much into this, I kind of can't.
Mm-hmm. It feels like that, for sure.
I would feel bad if I did, because I feel like I've set people up for, like, expectations, including myself. And that's why that middle stage is so dangerous, because, like, you're arguing with yourself, and depending on which side of you wins that, it gets better or worse.
Sure.
And it's so much easier to let the side of you, the unhealthy side that pushes you, win. Because, I mean, one, that's the side that gets paid for doing this. That's the side that occasionally gets $50. And two, it's just, yeah, like, it's harder to, like, it's like, like, if I can just start and get into it, like, I will have fun. Doesn't matter if you're going to be exhausted in the morning, like, you're, like, you have a little bit of fun, but it still takes more out of you than what you get out of it. Like, it's those little bits that, like, you're using as an argument to, like, keep doing this thing that maybe should be stepped away from or reevaluated or things like that. It's where the actual decision comes in, where, like, it's like a make or break kind of thing, before you get to the point where it's just full break.
Sure. Yeah, so have you noticed it more recently with yourself? Because I know you've been putting a lot of effort, like, outside of streaming too, like, you're picking up more hours for vacation, stuff like that. Do you feel like that's been a factor, or has this been something that's been kind of looming?
It's weird with me, because I've definitely done it, and, like you said with Taekwondo, like, the first time I ever got to, like, level 3 was when I was in, like, high school, and I did, like, youth bowling for a long time. and I really enjoyed it, but then it kind of turned into like, okay, well, it's this thing like my parents want me to be in something, so like I'm gonna do this because I know it and I know the people. And then it got to the point where it's like I'm just throwing the ball as fucking fast as I can, not caring about like if I hit any pins or not, just how quickly can I get out of here,
Sure.
you know? That was, I think, my first experience with it. It didn't like feel the way it does, you know, because I was younger and I had so much shit going on, you know, like younger people don't experience burnout the same way because there's so much else going on and they have such a larger support system, I think.
Sure.
That like while they experience it, it's more buffered, or it's like experiencing it in a padded room sort of thing.
Sure.
Not to say that they don't, because they definitely do. But then like I've definitely gotten to like borderline stage 2 because I started on YouTube and like I was like, okay, I know nobody's gonna watch this because like I don't have a following. I'm just doing this out of nowhere. Like I'm not gonna get views, things like that. And then like I slowly started creeping into Twitch, streaming, and that's where it starts to be like, okay, well, like I can see the people who are viewing actively as I'm like doing it, you know, comments, things like that, and like that's like chasing that. You know, affiliate, things like that. That's where you start to look at those things, and that scale starts to tilt between like just having fun and like making this work, you know. And there have been times in the past it's like, you know, I'm just gonna take like I've got some stuff saved up. I'm gonna take like a week off and just do that backlog.
Yep.
And upload that or whatever. But like the first time I really hit it was 2 years ago, when. I think part of this too, because you were saying it can come from different places. When I started, like, I was working a shitty job. I hated it. It wasn't treating me good. You know, I was underappreciated. I wasn't getting paid nearly enough for what I was doing. And like this was an escape. It was something fun. You know, I was like, this is what I was doing for me. And then I got a new job, and it's much better. I get paid much better. They appreciate me. I actually get something out of it, and that. Again, there's another scale there that starts to kind of shift. And I had started that, and I was into it, and my grandfather passed away, and there was a lot of like baggage dealing with that, and Ollie got really sick right at the same time, and I like doing that, trying to keep the schedule I was doing, because at that time I think I was still doing like 3 streams a week, and between 3 and 5 uploads to the YouTube channel of games I just recorded and uploaded. Yeah. Like I was running full like professional streamer YouTuber hours. And I burnt out hard. Sarah came home one day and found me just like crumpled on the kitchen floor crying. And I took I think about more or less the whole summer off, about 3 months. And then I kind of came back slowly at first, and just with the streaming stuff, I did a little bit of YouTube still for special things. Like during the holiday season, I would record like extra long videos for like a Zelda game, and then only upload them like once a week on Sunday. So like it wasn't a huge undertaking or anything like that. And the other thing I did was I used to hold myself really strictly to a schedule. Like stream this day, uploads this day, you know, whatever. Yeah. Doing that, I think, is a trap that a lot of people fall into, because if you skip a day if you've scheduled something and you've posted it and you skip it for whatever reason, even if you like say like, hey, I'm not gonna make it, like you're still like, I feel bad, you know, like people saw that, they were expecting that, maybe they set time aside, you know, whatever. Like that was a big thing that I made sure to change. Like, okay, I'm not going to try and hold myself to a schedule anymore. And I think that's helped me a lot. If I'm not holding myself to that, I don't feel as bad if I just need to take, you know, like a day or 2 off.
Sure.
But, you know, then, you know, as that's gone on and as that's continued, that was 2 years ago, this coming fall. As that's gone on, like I said, I got a new job. They appreciate me. They value me. Like, I get paid a lot more. Like, that's kind of taken more, because like now it's like, oh, I'm making money. I can do things in real life. I can, you know, do stuff. It's like, okay, well, that's like, I care about this thing too now. I didn't care about the old job. I care about this. I want to be good at it and do it and, like improve.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, well, I have to take steps to make sure I can do that as well, which means like not staying up until 2 a.m., on weekdays, running on like 3 hours of sleep, things like that. So there's another thing that's like, okay, it's taking away from this. There's only human willpower is not unlimited. Everybody has a finite reserve of willpower every day,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to choose. Like, willpower is completely separate from like energy level. Because if you have enough will, you can power through anything. But like, you have to choose how you use it and where you want to use it. And as I've gotten older, and had like the kids are getting older, Sarah's moving on with her career and things like that. My career is shifting and going in directions I didn't expect. It's like, okay, well, I have to choose where I want to spend that energy.
Sure.
And it's not always like, like just goofing off and talking on the internet for 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not so much that I'm burning out right now. It's that I'm putting more energy into other things, and I'm not able to keep this schedule that I had. And for a while, there was a little bit of that. It's like, I want to keep this schedule,
Mm-hmm.
and I was feeling bad about it. But I'm trying to reorient myself. Like, it's fine to take, a night off. It's fine to, stream once a week, twice a week when you feel like it. Like, because the reality is, we have good friends on here
Mm-hmm.
who will tune in if they're able.
Mm-hmm.
And you still get to have some fun, and they're not gonna be mad if you're like, yeah, I fell asleep.
Right. Yeah.
I've been trying to focus on that mentality of it.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, it could be just like, I'm gonna be like, Reggie's not here, so nobody can fact check me on this, and I'm sure I'm wrong. I'm gonna be 38. Like, I don't have the energy I did, 2 or 3 years ago.
Sure.
I've learned to appreciate like getting a full 8 hours of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I have to get up at 6 a.m. in the morning, that 8 hour start time is a little bit earlier.
Well, speaking of, she is just popped in chat, so good timing there. You said her name, and
Oh, there she is.
she popped up.
How old am I, Reggie?
But
Am
yeah,
I turning 38?
I definitely agree with a lot of things you said, and kind of, you're not 38, she says. Like, it's the outside factors. It's a matter of, like, adjusting. Like you mentioned, there's a lot of not new factors, but adjusting factors, or like things outside.
Life changes.
Exactly. Thank you. Life changes. And, I never actively thought about it this way, so I appreciate you saying that. But yeah, there's a lot of, like, for my side specifically, there's a lot of factors that are new that have changed, like moving out, different apartments. Lady's obviously here now. The changes of jobs from, the 12-hour night shifts to now, more normal 9 to 5 per week. Like, since starting the streaming and the content stuff, like, years ago, like, there's a lot of new factors that, like, have changed. And yeah, you gotta kind of be, well, we, not you, I don't mean to be like, you gotta do that. Like, we as people need to be a little bit more flexible with ourselves of, like, yeah, like, it's okay that we can't do what we used to do. And this sounds a little weird, but, like, you can't do what we used to do. We need to just recognize, like, what's new, what's changed, and make the appropriate turn or, changes for that to kind of still check all the boxes in a way that we want to. And whether
to be flexible with what we expect of ourselves, and more flexible with what we expect of ourselves, and more forgiving when we have to make a different choice.
Right. And I'm not saying that's an easy thing to adjust, but, like, I think, like, not even just content creation,
I'm the
like
king of not forgiving yourself. So
heyo,
nobody hates me more than me.
Right. Like, this could be said for any burnout, like, across any stage of anyone's life.
Oh yeah, this isn't specific to
right,
content creators.
Right. It's it's.
We started it couched in that because, like, that first level is, like, the most basic thing.
Sure, that's our experience.
All content creators hit that at some point. But this can happen with a job. This can happen with a hobby.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah, which I've definitely experienced from a hobby.
Exercise. God knows it happens with everybody's New Year habit.
Yeah.
Or New Year's resolution.
Yeah, which I was going to bring up later with the hobby perspective. Like that's something I'm going through right now with wrestling. Like there's just so much negativity in terms of specifically like WWE side. Like that's a hobby I'm feeling burnout with now. I'm like you said, like we've put all this time into it, put all this energy into it and love into it, and then things are happening where like, oh, we're going a good way, and then it seems like we're going a bad way.
I had the same thing with comic books. You know, like especially like in high school and college, like I had extra money. I didn't have as many responsibilities. I could do, like go to the comic book shop once a week and pick up like 6 or 7 different issues and follow all the different storylines. And then it's like, okay, it's just increasingly like I have to follow more and more things to get the full story, to know what's going on. Like I have more responsibilities. Prices are going up. It's like, it's just like, no, I can't fucking do it. I'll read the wiki.
Yeah, and it's like, whether I just brought up wrestling, but even like the Marvel stuff now, like I'm starting to feel burnout there too. And that's in terms of like quality and what I feel like I'm getting out of return of it. I'm like,
That one I don't experience, but I turn my brain off when I watch movies.
Yeah.
Very, very easy to please me when I watch a movie.
And that's smart.
I don't go into it expecting anything.
Sure.
So, but that's Marvel burnout is like a cultural thing too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true because there's so much of it.
Did you see the Across the Spider-Verse trailer?
I did. That looks great. Yes. Like, I'm still, like, that's the stupid thing, too, is, like, I'm still excited, like, oh, the Marvels trailer came out. That looks like it's going to be fun. Right. Across the Spider-Verse. That looks cool. Guardians.
I'm going to look it up on the internet to read the story. I mean, that's enough to still follow it.
Yeah.
You know? It's free. I'm already subscribed to Disney Plus. There's nothing to stop me from watching this for free at some point, but I'm probably not going to do it. I'm just going to read about it instead.
Yeah, it's just weird, like, how that kind of happens. And it happens with a bunch of things. Just getting to that point of, like, yeah, I don't really care to do that right now. But yeah, like we were saying earlier, like, adjustments just need to be made. And kind of that flexibility, I think everybody in general needs to do that. And, like, it's being more talked about in conversations now. You mentioned, like, therapy earlier, like, people being more open to doing that and, like, letting their feelings be known. Like, I think that's just a growing stage.
It is a mental health thing.
Sure.
You have to make a choice about taking care of your mental health when it comes to burnout. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't, you're going to end up setting something on fire.
Right. Yeah, which definitely, I'll admit, I got to a very close point like last summer with, like, I could have burned some bridges. Like, thank God I didn't, but, like, it got very close to that. And, yeah, it's still figuring out, like, how to take those adjustments now. Yes, I know, Papa Griff, people always made choices. I'm not saying they didn't. I'm saying, from my perspective, it seems like people are more open and willing to talk about how they're feeling, how whatever's affecting them.
There's not a stigma.
Yeah, we're getting past that point.
Stigma.
And I don't know if this is just me in adulthood, blah, blah, blah. But I'm noticing it a lot more with people like, oh, so-and-so is dealing with this. So-and-so is not this perfect example that I thought of, blah, 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 whatever it is. And I don't know if that's on me for painting it in that light or how it's presented to me or whatever it is. It's just that also affects how I've been feeling lately. And I'm not, once again, hold on, Jeff, sorry, 1 second. I'm not trying to say, like, people aren't allowed to feel the way that you're feeling. It wasn't a factor in the past. It's whatever it is. Like, I'm not saying this is a new thing. I'm not trying to say this is a new thing. And this is where it gets shitty and sucks to talk about. But, like,
I'm fine with it. But I'm fine with being shitty and sucky, so.
This is something that I just noticed myself that I have been dealing with in terms of just, I don't know, reacting to things, taking things in, whatever. It's just, life is not as simple and as perfect as I thought it was and wanted it to be, and it's really overwhelming. So I'm not saying that these weren't factors that people were dealing with before. For some reason in my dumb brain, it is now coming to light. I am glad that people feel open and able to make these decisions, to come forward and say they are dealing with things, whether it's identity or problems they're having mentally, physically, spiritually, whatever it is. I'm very fortunate and glad that they are able to do that. It is just now me taking in that information for like what I'm experiencing, and now, oh, so-and-so who I've known for years is also going through something I had no idea or feeling about, and now I feel bad, guilty, whatever about that, and I hate it. I'm sorry, that could have been a tangent, whatever it was, rant. That is what I was trying to say.
When do I come on and somebody doesn't rant? I don't even need to come on here and I'll rant. I would have ranted about something tonight during this time frame, whether or not I was here or not.
Fair.
No, you're not wrong. And neither is Popograph. It used to be something, yes.
Sure.
And it's something people are becoming more aware about. And this is something that I felt for a long time, like, and this is something I felt like was instilled in me growing up, not just by like my dad and my grandpa, but like just what was expected. Like for me, like growing up when I was born and when I like started to like come of age and things like that, like one of the things of like being a man was you don't make your problem other people's problem.
Mm-hmm.
If you suffer in silence, suffer in silence. You don't make your shit other people's shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it was for a long time, I feel like, you know? But also, people used to only live to like 65, have a heart attack, drop dead, and leave a widow and 2 kids.
Not that that was the only factor, but yeah.
Well, no, it was a lot of red meat and smoking, a lot of vices to like deal with that kind of shit, you know? And I'll admit, we all have vices, you know?
Sure.
There's definitely, you know, everybody self-medicates one way or another. But we've got better at recognizing the reasoning for it and being aware, like, hey, if you carry this shit around in your brain, it's going to fester and kill you without addressing it at some point, you know? And I'm not saying I want to live to, like, 90 or anything like that. Like, Jesus Christ, that's too old.
Yeah, and that could be a whole...
Good with, like, 80, 85, 75 even, maybe.
That could be
but, like, that's the thing. Like, yeah, everybody, it used to be like, you know, like... power through it, ignore it, just fucking yell at Steve in accounting or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Make the secretary feel bad about fucking up my coffee order.
And that could be a whole...
Whatever I got to do to get through this and just keep going. And I'm not saying that was everybody.
Right.
But, you know.
Yeah,
there's definitely, like... There was a presentation of, like, what people were supposed to be. And it had all these objectively negative things built into it that if you just step back and you're like, if you just fucking talked about that, you'd be way happier. You would not be like yelling at, you know, like, I'm literally just like pulling from like shitty TV shows right now. Like, you would not be like yelling at your wife about a slightly overburnt pot roast or something like that, you know?
Yeah, and that could be a different discussion totally for like another topic or whatever, like why, like we alluded to, like it's not anything new, but why is it so apparent or like
why are we aware
a big deal now? Like I'm not trying to like say, oh, everything now is awful or worse or, you know, it's the end of the world or like it's manifest problems.
But also, we're much more connected.
Sure, yeah, that's true. Yeah, we can connect with whoever across whatever.
I can't go on Twitter for more than 5 minutes without wanting to burn something down.
Sure, a lot of people have a lot of opinions that they share, whether right or wrong, or just venting, or just trying to irk somebody, whatever it is. Yeah, that's true. But I'll allude back to what you said earlier of like sometimes it's just a matter like you can feel better by just letting it out. Like I am 100% that person who will, like you said, don't share your problems with other people because you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to deal with them yourself, etc., etc., and just pile in, and then it leads to the explosion. Sometimes, you know, it is just better to let it out, and then you feel better after because you realize either, oh, that was stupid that I was mad at it, or at least sharing it with someone else. And like you mentioned earlier, like as from a kid's perspective, like obviously they could still go through it, all that stuff, but there's more of that you use the term padded room, but I'll say like a bubble. Like hopefully you have your parents involved, you have family involved, you have your friends, you know. As we get older, and I don't know why this happens, I'm guilty of it too, but those things kind of go away. Like the phone works both ways, but those relationships kind of falter or go away.
Here's what I think it is. As a kid, and this is sort of like a proven thing when you look at like how people experience time, like young people versus old people. Like as a kid, it is easier to just quit something. I think you can put as much time into it as you want, and then you can just be like, nah, I'm fucking done, and move on. Because there's so much stuff going on, and you're constantly experiencing and learning new things.
Sure.
And that's like why the human brain, like when you're younger, time seems to move slower, because you're like, it's pulling in all of these extra details and things like that and experiences. And then as you get older, you start to settle into who you are, and your brain starts blocking out that extraneous shit that doesn't matter, and that's why time moves faster. But because of that, you're settled into who you are and like what you're doing, and like you have these preconceived notions about like, this is what I'm doing. Like I set down this path. I made this decision. Like bailing on it is a thing, and it's not necessarily a thing for kids. At least it's my experience with my kids. That's my thing. And I mean, also kids are just so much more fucking aware nowadays too.
So Papa Griff's got a good question in chat. He says, "I guess my confusion comes from this, and I've admittedly never lived it. So who can? Okay, so
I'm gonna say how.
Okay, thank you. How can something you do for entertainment be such a burden on you? If it is, dump it. Not that I personally want that for either of you, but it's got to be a choice you make and not feel bad for making it. That's a fair thing too. Of like, if you're not enjoying it, don't do it. I think.
I have a quick.
Sure, go for it.
It's hard to be on, like quote unquote. It's hard to be on for like a 4-hour stretch sometimes.
Sure.
Like if I'm gonna stream, I don't want to sit here and be like this. You know, I want to be engaged and have fun and focus. And you're focusing on the game and you're focusing on chat. You're splitting your attention. You're trying to keep conversation going and engagement going while focusing on the game and commenting on the game. You're basically doing a commentary track and a conversation about Jesus, possibly something that isn't even related to it. Somebody could be venting about their own personal problems that they're dealing with. And if it's somebody that you know, like somebody you don't know who just showed up in chat and they're just like, I was going to say my dog, but that's too depressing. My job sucks. It's like, I'm sorry, I don't know you. Hi, nice to meet you. But if it's somebody you know and you've talked to a lot, it's like you actually care and you want to focus on that, but you can't fucking stop what you're doing. You have to keep focusing on that too. And you're splitting your attention, and you have to give an equal amount of energy to both. And you have to be like on point. You got to be like turned on to do it. And it's a lot of energy. Like it doesn't seem like a lot until you actually do it.
Sure. And that could be an adjustment that like we need to make. Like maybe don't do long streams. Like maybe if I can do a strong 2 hours, I do a strong 2 hours. And that's something like we ourselves need to adjust, change for. Totally. I think from what I'm thinking, and I see the follow-up comments by both Reggie and Papa Griff, like I hear you, the people who watch you and love you don't care about that. They just want to see and be with you, which we don't mean to, when we're bitching, complaining about all this stuff. Those of you who are watching, tuning in now, who have been with us for however long, we love and appreciate you. There is no amount of thanks that will be enough for you guys.
Guarantee you're the reason we haven't quit.
Right. There's never enough thanks that we can give you for comments you've said during streams, off of streams, whatever it is. There is no amount of gratitude that we can ever return back to you that will be enough or feel like enough from our perspective. We appreciate that. Go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, hold on.
Sure.
I have to check with this first.
Okay, well, I'll keep going while you look that up.
Yes.
It's not, this sounds rude and I don't mean for it to be that. It's not you guys are doing something wrong that doesn't fulfill us. It's, I think from at least my point of view or how I feel in the situation, and this could be outside factors as well, like we talked about earlier. with this project, this thing that we're doing for fun, that I'm doing for fun, or supposed to be a venture, with me stopping or saying, I'm not getting what I want out of this that I want, or, getting rewarded or whatever, however you want to phrase it. At this, this sounds really overdramatic, and I apologize for it. At this stage in my life, it feels like it's almost too late to make that adjustment, or like, because it's not too late. It's, it's like, what was all that time? What was all that hours, effort, whatever? Money. Yeah, if we want to bring financial stuff into
that can be a lot of things. Like, I've spent, I've got all these games that I've bought for my collection to stream, and I haven't gotten to any of them, and like, I just don't feel like am I gonna quit?
Sure. I think the big thing for me is time. Is just like, what was that all for? And yes, you could pull stuff out of it that, like, this was good. We did this for charity. I learned how to do this thing. Obviously, we made connections here. Like, that's all good. It's just, it's like any career. Like, if you did something for 5 years and it's gone, like, it's that mental freak out you have. Like, what do I do? Where do I go now? What is my college degree for? What was this? Whatever. I don't know. However you want to talk about it. I think that's just what I'm feeling right now in terms of it. And another factor that we've alluded to in a past podcast, where we've talked about this, is just seeing others. And you're not supposed to compare yourself to others, but, like, it's something you can't really avoid at times.
Stay out of the comments.
It's just like, I don't understand what I'm doing wrong fully. I know there's things I can do and adjust, but, like, X person is doing this, or X person is getting invited to this group, and out of nowhere it seems. I don't know. I'm not wording things well, and this is something that I admit to Lady all the time. It's all in there. I don't know how to phrase stuff well. This is why I'll never be a public speaker besides teaching. I get it. That was a phase in my life. And, like, write a book, anything like that. I don't phrase things well. I don't put things together well. There's a lot of times I need to repeat myself or take a second and really plot it out, and I am not doing that right now. So I apologize. I don't know if any of that made sense, but it's just a big jumbled mess.
As someone who always uses the perfect words, the best words in any situation, I never say anything wrong to anybody ever. Oh shit, I already forgot what I was going to say. No, you're right. It is totally, like, it's hard to, when you have these concerns, trying to, especially to somebody who doesn't do this kind of thing, or whatever you're feeling burnt out about, whether it's a hobby or, like, you bought 87 minis because you got into Dungeons and Dragons and, like, 36 pounds of paint, and you're like, oh, I can't fucking paint all these. I don't care anymore. It's hard to explain that to people who aren't in, like, the same place that you're in with regards to that thing. Because there is, like, we have support people. We have people who love us and care about this. People who haven't put themselves through it, though, like, you can empathize, but, like, you have to be able to find somewhere where, like, okay, they've felt like this in a different thing, and that can be really, really difficult. And even just, like, bringing it up, like, trying to find those words. And also, you're generally pretty good at, explaining yourself.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I would not worry about that. I would say, actually, do it a little bit more. You need to learn to tell me to shut up sometimes on stream.
Yeah, that's like, okay, I get where you're going, chat, with the OnlyFans thing. I'm not saying, like, that's bad. I remember.
Lady Only Feet!
I think
Lady Only Feet!
Oh,
Lady
Jesus.
Only feet.
All right. I think, there's different audience. That's not our audience. We don't care about those people. That sounds really weird, but you know, like they're doing their own thing. The person who's checking out them, they're obviously, I am not their, you know, I'm not their target audience. They're my target audience. We're not talking about that, Jeff. Okay, shut up. No,
you're learning.
They're in their own lane far away, you know? I don't care about what they're doing. Can I question some of the things Twitch is allowing on their site? Sure. That's a whole nother ball game, but ultimately, their lane's over there. Do what you're doing. You don't affect me. I don't affect you. I get there's only so many eyes to go around.
Those eyes would not be on you.
Right. They wouldn't be here anyway. You know, look at my bicep. There's nothing there. Nobody cares. Like that they're not going to pop over here. Like, those people do their thing. It's just finding a way to kind of break out and be flexible and, I don't know, do something different. And, you know,
Griff, I'm too hairy for a hot tub.
And maybe, you know, this is our cap, and maybe it's just mentally coming to terms of like you guys said, we're happy with this. Like, we have a good time. We like, it's just getting over that mental hurdle in our head of like,
you have to deprogram yourself.
Yeah. Cause
you got to the point where like you were chasing affiliate, you know, you were like, okay, gotta get these numbers up so I can get this thing. And then it's like, okay, I've got this, I've got to get this much stuff so I can get that payout. And it creeps up on you so easily.
And yeah, just like we talked about.
And this is why I've talked about this before. Like the whole reason I started this was because Reggie moved very far away from me, and I didn't get to really see or talk to her. And it was like, okay, let's play some. Let me be stupid with some scary games or whatever, and she can watch, and we can talk about that and have fun together. And it kind of snowballed out of that to a sort of unhealthy place, and now it's like, okay, get back to that. Like, just have fun with people, you know. But unfortunately, relearning how to have fun, like I still, with everything I've done, I don't play video games for myself generally. Like I don't, and part of that is because like I don't like playing games when the kids are around. Like I feel like they should be getting the attention.
Sure.
But like I just like it's hard to sit down and like just play a game for myself sometimes, unless there's some level of work involved in it, which is why I'm like, I'll catch myself like if I do sit down and play by myself, I'll catch myself like it's not on. I'll like mug at the webcam. It's like, why am I doing that? This is too this is too ingrained. I need to get out of that. It's so easy for something you love to turn into work, regardless of how anybody else feels about it. Because we know, you know, like that's the thing. We just want to have fun. That's really what we want to do. Like, you know, the bonuses or whatever, they're nice, and that's another thing I'll get to in a second. Those are nice, but like we do want to just have fun. But there's a lot of aspects to it of like, it's easy. Like, okay, well, do I bail on this to do something else for fun? You know, like even if it's just switching a game. Like, is this game fun? Like, am I actually enjoying this, or am I playing it because other people who like I care about are enjoying it? And I mean, look at me trying to figure out what to do for Extra Life this year. I had 2 options, and like my favorite person ignored both of them, and like in several different places, which is like scary game. Like I knew she was gonna do that, so it didn't affect me at all.
Got a whole
but
month.
Also, it's like, you know, that's the kind of thing. You know, like we even the people who care about us and our well-being, you know, like we care about them having fun as well. And then the flip side of that is what you were talking about, like Twitch, and like they change shit on us. Like it used to be what, a 70-30 Like on the
I
and
think
this is getting into like the business side of it, like the part of it that I'm trying to ignore, but like used to be a 70-30 split on revenue.
I thought for partners, I thought that was the case. I don't know if it ever was. Like, I've been seeing, obviously, higher up, quote-unquote, streamers complaining a lot about it. For affiliates, it was always 50-50, but I thought that was something, like, to reach out for with partner was you would have that 70-30 split.
Yeah. Okay. So, but yeah, the point is they're taking more money now from what you're doing. Even if you're just hanging out with people, like, okay, like I only have a limited income, like I rely on what those people give me or the
Sure.
ads they view to buy the next game to enter, to have fun with them. Or like the whole attitude of like, oh, you don't like it, show more ads. I don't want to show ads to people I care about. I don't want to make them watch commercials. But like they're in a weird way, it's kind of forced. They force it down your throat, and it just like, yeah, it doesn't affect anything in an individual stream, but like overall, like in the umbrella of it all, it's just like shadow. I dropped my thing. There we go. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I'm with my hair tie.
Yeah.
There's so many traps that are so easy to fall into, whether they're of your own brains making or not.
Right. Yeah, I think the thing with another thing, at least in terms of me, that's like we chat's saying and you're saying, is like getting back to that fun level. Like, it's rewriting my brain. It's not anything that's actually, nothing is actually wrong with what I'm putting out. Like, the streams are there, the podcasts are there every week. Like, there's nothing wrong with that process. It's just me getting out of my own head of do it for fun, hang out with the people who are here, whatever.
As long as you're actually enjoying it.
Right. Like, it's just...
No, I was to point out what I said earlier. There's so many things. It's like it's the same thing. It's like a 60-hour game where you just have to keep going through. And it's like, no. Oh, I remember what I was gonna say.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry for interrupting you. Let me get this out before I forget again. Sure. You were saying, you shouldn't try and follow people or emulate people or whatever. I would say that's not always the case. I think it was a few years ago. I think it was Octopimp. He was going through some very, very serious burnout. I think he was doing like, all the stuff you were supposed to do, Fortnite, Grand Theft Auto, whatever, and like he hated it. And then he just started playing Sea of Thieves. And he started having so much fun with it and like got so into it and like it completely rejuvenated him. Like, there are examples where like if you can find somebody who's dealing with this and is open about dealing with it, that's because there are communities on Twitch who are, that's the thing, like everybody deals with this.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Or another, whether or not they're upfront about it and they're willing to talk about it,
Yeah,
that's all. Making sure you're enjoying the game itself, not just the experience.
Right. And yeah, ultimately it's getting back to that point because it's almost like and I've heard people say this before, like if you enjoy what you're doing and the success will follow, and that could be said for anything, that's the point that
build it.
I think that's the point we need to get back to.
But I don't like baseball.
And it's just it's like I said, rewriting my brain to get back to that point of it. Not that it doesn't matter, but that's the focus. And this could be said for other things too, like work, etc. It's just
the thing you said about like doing it, like if you do it and they'll like it, and if you like it, like it won't feel like work or whatever. That's bullshit. Like, chefs love cooking, but they fucking work their ass off, and it feels like work.
Yeah, I don't mean to say like, never work a day in your life, or like it won't feel like work. I'm sorry, I didn't mean for it to sound like that.
No. I don't think you said it like that. I just want to make sure that.
Okay. I just mean in terms of like exactly what you guys are saying in chat. Which once again, thank you for being here and joining this conversation, because it is a real conversation. Is like, I feel, you feed off that energy, whether it's a person you come across in the street, your friends, your family, the energy that is brought and how it's presented and put out there, you feed off of it, and it's going to determine your experience regardless, positive, negative, whatever. So if we, like, I need to get back to that point, not that I haven't been having fun week to week, but just the times where, like, I'm not live or not doing XYZ factor, like, don't overthink it in that regard and hyperfixate about it. Like, I can't tell you how many times at work, and Lady and I have had this discussion too, where maybe it's just work isn't as mentally stimulating as other jobs have been, where like my brain just goes overload and I'm overthinking everything that never should like enter my brain, of scenarios of like, this happens and this happens and this happens, and I was like, why are we thinking about this? There's no reason.
No, you know what? I totally get that, because there's days where it's like, especially like if I streamed the night before and it wasn't like, I didn't fully feel like I had the energy for it, but I did it anyways. You know, I was at that like level 1 burnout. Like, so I streamed anyways, and it's like, okay, I'm at work. Like, as I'm walking to work, it's like, I'm just gonna take the night off. I'm gonna rest. You know, and then like 2 hours into work, I have a thought, and it's like, man, like that would be so fun to do. I can't wait to stream. Yeah. And that's in my brain for like 3 hours. But then by the time I get done with my 8.5-hour shift, it's just like, I was so excited. I was so excited. Maybe I even tweeted about it, you know, or like put up a post on Facebook about what I was going to do tonight and how excited I was about it. But it's not fucking happening.
Yep, I have that often. I'm just like, I can't wait to get home.
All the time. All the time.
Not in a bad way, just like, yeah, you're looking forward to whatever's happening later. And then you get to it and you're like...
Yeah, well, you get excited because you want to do this thing and you want to have fun with these people. But again, you only have so much energy and willpower in a day, you know? And, like, you happen to have this thought at a high point, and then, like, you know, the rest of the day, I don't want to say just grinds you down, but, you know, there, again, only so much energy and willpower that you have, unless you're going to, like, you know, freaking chug a heart attack in a can, or, you know, like, ignore everything else that you have to deal with outside of work. It's just, you know, like, you're just like... I wanted to do it so bad, and it's a letdown. It is a letdown, even if it's just to yourself. Like, it's like, I really wanted to do this thing, and I'm not gonna. And it's like, okay, but like, you weren't going anywhere. It's not like you're missing a trip or a movie or anything. You're just like not streaming. You can do it any other day, but it doesn't feel like that in your brain because you got to this level of like, sorry, I gleeked. Of like being so, like, you thought about it, this is what I'm gonna do, maybe I'm gonna say this if this thing happens, whatever, you know. Like, it's so easy to trick yourself into things. It's so difficult to deprogram that out of your brain. Yeah, because brains like habits, they like routines. You know, brain, like, as chaotic as the human brain is, it likes structure, and it wants to keep, you know, whatever's going on, and like unteaching it to do a thing takes like 60 days to build a habit.
I don't know, I remember the 3 weeks thing, or 21 days or whatever. But I have no idea.
But like, when it's more of a mental thing, like, especially when you have like your feelings tied up into it, like, it takes way longer to deprogram that. Yeah, I feel like, and it is a deprogramming. Like, you're not wrong. Like, you have to unlearn or untrain, and like, at some levels, like, you know, there's a lot of what we do that, like, you could look at it the same way you look at like addicts on some things. You know, sure. Like, you get a rush off of like streaming and talking and having fun. There's like a dopamine high and things like that. You know. And like, you want to chase that. Like, if you have a really good stream, you want every stream to be like that so badly. And then if you don't get it, like, you know, that just snowballs and snowballs and snowballs. And teaching yourself not to do that can be such a hard thing to do after you've had that a couple times.
Let's see. Spabbergriff says, so for both of you, would you say most of your times like these are on streams by yourself? What proportion of them would you say are satisfying and what are not?
My brain's fucked up. It's shitty all over the place. It's not just stream wise.
Yeah, I think
I have this. I feel this way about eating sometimes.
Yeah, in terms of like we're talking a lot about stream, but there's other factors or other things that I'm definitely feeling that way.
Yeah.
And
burnout can happen with anything.
Right. It's just we're definitely focused on that aspect.
That's how relationships end because of burnout. Like, okay, I'm putting more into this than it's like it can literally be anything. We're just couching it in this topic.
I think for me at least, like it's never in the moment, whether it's specifically streaming or a work, for example. Like it's never once I'm there or once I'm doing it, usually it's not a problem. If I want to be really specific with it, I guess sometimes streaming it is in the moment just based on, like you mentioned earlier, like I can see who's viewing right now and like obviously how's the interaction in chat, and that's something, another thing to get past. But most of it that like the negativity pops in or these thoughts pop in, it's random times, like I'm at work and then hyperfixating on stream for some reason, or I'm at home and then I'm thinking about work, not in a bad way, but just like, oh, I could do this, or I get stressed about this, or get ready for the busy season, blah, blah, blah. Just like, why am I thinking about that right now? And I love work. Like, I enjoy the people I work with. I enjoy the flow, and, nothing's wrong with that. And once again, nothing's wrong with streaming in the big scheme of things. It's just like, that's when it kind of more pops up, is like the off times. And I think that's maybe because you're not in the moment with that task. So like, when you're at work, you're focused on your work tasks, but then you're overthinking everything in terms of results, production, progression in the other aspects. At least for me, that's where I'm like hyperfixated on it for some reason, or overthinking it. It's weird because I don't know. That's when it pops up for me.
No, I definitely get that. For me, the work thing doesn't come so much into it.
Sure.
One, I don't care about. I mean, I like the people I work with. I don't know most of their names.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a huge factor for me on that. It's like I get a 15-minute break, and then I just happen to think like it back to a high point in like the stream the night before, or the night before that, or whatever. And it's like, oh man, I had so much fun in that moment. God, it would be fun to go home and stream and get that again.
Mm-hmm.
For me, a lot of the burnout is one, like, again, I said, just the way the industry is now. Like, there's so many games. It's like there's 60 hours, open world. You have to go here, get a tower, unlock the thing. Like, it's just they stretch on too long. Like a lot of people did not like Callisto Protocol. Like, that was a short, like, 25 hours. I loved that.
Mm-hmm.
It was, like, a neat little thing. It was its own thing. Like, I had a start. I had an end. It didn't take forever. I wasn't, like, streaming it since November, for instance. What started with a charity stream, and I'm still frickin' working on it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, a lot of it is, like, it's after stream. I've been up, I've been animated, I've been having fun, I've been talking a lot, focusing on a lot of different things, and then I'm done, and then there's just like, I didn't perform the way I wanted to.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I lost too many fights, like, I said some jokes that didn't land. I get really in my head afterwards.
Yeah, I agree.
And, like, that sticks with you, because one, like, even if it's a good stream, there's a crash afterwards. Sure. I feel like.
Yeah, they're definitely.
You've been expending like a lot of energy to again be animated. You've been talking more or less nonstop for 4 hours, which I mean I can do that without paying attention. That's not a huge thing, but there's an energy level to it, and then there's a crash, and like if you don't deal with that right, like it can like follow you into the next day, which causes you like, okay, now I'm gonna have a bad day at work because like I'm just not starting off on a good foot. Like it's really hard to define, but for me, yeah, a lot of it is like I just didn't do what that didn't go the way I wanted it to go, even if it's just a little thing, you know.
Sure.
And part of that's me, because I people have always accused me of being hypercritical, but I've always been the most hypercritical of myself, and that's something I'm really trying to work on. But again, it's, you know, those learned behaviors and those learned responses are not easy things to unlearn. So
yeah. Circling out of the stream stuff for a minute, just talk about other Burnout, but yeah, I don't know, it's weird because you mentioned, well, you know, we've been talking about like, oh wait, then not just do that thing, alluding back to the wrestling and the Marvel. It's like, I feel weird because like I used to love these things, and I mean I still do in some regard, but like when I feel those burnout moments, it's like, what am I gonna do now? And I've felt that way with like other shows and movies. Like, I really want to watch this thing, but I have no motivation to do this thing.
That's why I mentioned, like, I don't play video games outside of stream, because it's like, if I don't do this, like, when do I just stop playing video games?
Sure.
Like, what happens to all of this stuff I've spent money on, this whole room I've designed around this one hobby, you know? Like, what happens to that? And again, like, you can unlearn. I could play games with the kids and everything, but like, it's never gonna get to the point where, like, when I was started, where it's like, oh, I streamed and I played video games on my own. Like, you know, I was, you know, like, I was well, more or less single, engaged, whatever. Like, you know, every free hour was basically spent on video games.
Yeah, I think that's like we talked about,
or whatever hobby
earlier. Yeah, it's just like making those adjustments. Like, it's not the same. Or there's more factors involved now that we just need to account for.
Yeah, and then the other thing, and this is definitely a me thing. I don't think this would apply to you, but like, you know, I lived in a city for 11 years. All of my friends were there. Like, that's where I moved when I moved out of my parents' house. That's where I lived. That's where I met my future wife and all of our mutual friends and things like that. And then we moved somewhere where I don't know anybody. And I was never good at meeting people and making friends, and as I've gotten older, it's fully become the Randall Graves Clerks 2 quote. Like, how am I going to make friends? I hate everyone and everything seems stupid to me. Or I hate everything and everyone seems stupid to me. That's it. Like, this is my social, like, stuff. Like, if I don't do this, like, it's just, I go to work, I come home, I answer 80 to 95 questions about Breath of the Wild from Jack. And then Sarah comes home and tells me about her day, and then I go to bed. Like, there's no like me just interacting with people for me. Like, I have to keep doing it so I have something that's like, I'm talking to somebody that's not work or somebody that is biologically related to me.
Yeah, and
which is weird to say, because it's not like I don't love them,
right?
You know, it's not like I don't care, but like, you can't live in such a small bubble either.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. I've talked about that lately too. Of like the friendships I know are still there, but it's not like it used to be. And like I mentioned earlier, phone works both ways. But for some reason, like, either I don't reach out or I feel like I'm the only one reaching out. It's like, oof.
I mean, I had an hour-long conversation with Reggie on the phone the other night, and I think it's the first time I've actually heard her voice in like 6 months.
Probably since the last podcast, or you're both wrong.
Yeah, at least. And like, you know, like my absolute best friend, my big sister, like, and we talk and chat, but like, there's nothing important.
It's different,
nothing
yeah,
real
sure.
necessarily that's getting talked about in chat, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important to me that we get to do that, but also there's like, it's this like level of like, not superficialness, but it's like it's not hitting me on like a spiritual,
it's a different conversation,
like, level, as the same way as just like getting to fucking talk about whatever is bugging you or shoot the shit or whatever, you know.
For sure, 100%, or 100%. Yeah, it's interesting to think about. Yeah, but I think we definitely acknowledge things that, you know, we could do differently. You know, adjusting and stuff like that. It's just a matter of...
I'll be the first to admit, there's a lot of things I could do differently.
Just a matter of follow through. And, you know, sometimes that's all it is just venting. Like we talked about as well. Because, like, right now I feel better. And I appreciate you bringing up this topic earlier in our chat off of stream. And yeah, just, I don't know. We got to figure it out, I guess. Just, you know, there's ups and downs and everything. This is just maybe a down point in terms of us, so we'll bounce.
It's very important when you care about something and you put a lot of energy into it, you have to examine it every now and then.
Sure, absolutely.
No matter what it is, to make sure that you're, you know, not only like getting what you need out of it, but you're addressing it the way that you need to for it to get the most out of you.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a person or a hobby or a pet or whatever, you know, it's like I don't know if this is going to connect quite right, but it's like there's people who are like, they'll get a dog and they'll take they'll take them to training and teach them tricks and things like that. And then there's people who get a dog and be like, oh yeah, I taught it to pee outside.
Sure.
Like, that's the limit of what you can do with dogs. It's like, no, there's so much more that you can do there, but you have to, like, you know, you have to look at it, you have to address, like, maybe not your shortcomings, but like what your expectations are and whether or not, like, at this time this is what you need or what's right for you or what, you know, if you're contributing properly, you know,
your experience.
And then if not, don't feel bad about taking some time off. Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, and this is something we both definitely struggled with. And I'm way more willing to do it now, but I still, like, will feel like bad. Like 2 weeks ago, this last week was not quite my fault because Sarah said Willow could play the Sonic Murder game.
Oh God, okay.
At like 7:45, and I was like, no, I gotta stream, but she's been asking about this all day. I can't kick her off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, I was kind of burnt out that day too from other stuff. But then the week before, it's like I was so burnt out. It was like 5 minutes before 8 o'clock, and I was like, oh crap, it's Thursday. Oh no, oh my God, what am I gonna do? I'm supposed to be on stream. There's no way I can do this. Like, you have to be willing to, one, like, especially like if you have people who are expecting you and be like, hey, I'm really sorry, you know, reach out and be like, be honest. And then two, like, be honest with yourself and be forgiving with yourself. And that's one of the harder parts, is being like, it's okay that I didn't do this thing this day. Right.
Yeah, 100%.
And, like, whether it's with this or with, like, I didn't get the laundry put away, or whatever it is, you know?
Right. Yeah. It's just like anything, balance, you know? Do the thing, adjust when you need to. If you don't do something, don't beat yourself up for it. Just make sure you get to it at some point. Rainbow says in chat, do not feel bad for taking time to live your life. Take a breath, take a day, take a week, take a month, take 10. We'll be here. And if people don't understand, fuck them. We appreciate that. I think that's another hurdle that we need to get over, of, like, we feel bad. We're not here. We missed a stream. We missed a podcast. We missed a hangout, you know? Like, oof.
When you finally got to the point last year where you're like, okay, I'm taking time off, and it was like 3 months, whatever, like, how much of those first 2 weeks were like, who's going to be left when I come back?
Oh, yeah, that was a thought. Maybe not initially. I think that was more when I was, like, ramping up to come back, because that break was one of those factors where, like, there was a lot of things going on, like, work was ramping up and all that stuff. So it was like, I need this out of more necessity, of, like, I don't think I can maintain what I'm trying to do. But yeah, when I was ramping up to come back with the regular streams, and then I don't remember, podcasts, we took time off as well too. It was just like, yeah, is anyone gonna care? Coming back,
who's gonna be there?
Right.
You know,
yeah.
Like, you know, who still has that alert turned on?
Mm-hmm.
Who's gonna see that alert and be like, oh yeah, you know, let's go see what's going on.
Right.
It wasn't something I had when I took my 3 months off, or any time I take any time off. It's definitely one of the things that hits my brain first. Like, I take this time off, like, people have short attention spans. They move on to other things quickly, depending on, like, whether or not it's a casual observer or, you know, somebody who's invested.
Sure.
Like, And even casual observers, like, you know, that's somebody you can talk to and interact with and have fun and learn things and whatever, you know? And, like, if you have someone who's, like, casual for a couple days, then maybe they become a regular person, you know?
Yeah. And that's something everybody's gone through from the content world of, like, just the return. And you feel like you got to be there all the time. It's unfortunately something that's just part of the culture, I guess you could say. Not a healthy part of the culture, but it's there.
God, you mean there's unhealthy parts of video gamer culture?
Well, yeah, there could be anything, but yeah.
Oh,
one of many.
I never would have guessed. A group of gatekeeping nerds.
I know. What a shock. But yeah, I overall, I think this was a good comment.
Damn you, Hollywood, for taking Mario and making it common.
It was great. Did you see the movie yet?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay.
No, I haven't. I was gonna take the kids to go see it last week, but I got burnt.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah. You got time. It's making bank. I'm sure it's not going anywhere.
Yeah. No, what I did is the next day instead I let him go wash the car. And
I saw that.
It's Power Wash Simulator, real life. I went out and got a nice nozzle for the hose, and I was like, "Here, Power Wash Simulator, go nuts."
Nice.
And then Sarah stole my idea the next day.
Hey.
So
sometimes you have a good one. She's like, "Oh." But yeah, it was a good conversation to have, Jeff. Thank you for doing this with me. Yeah. And chat, thank you for talking it through with us as well. And once again, we appreciate you guys hanging out. If you're watching or listening to this later and you're like, wow, this was heavy. If you stuck it out, thank you too.
Like most of the ones I'm in get weirdly real at one point or another. We didn't get into pirate territory
not
tonight.
Yet, and we will not.
But like also, I don't think we got as like heavy into shit as like the time it was you, me, and Lady.
The first 3+ hour.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think I still hold the longest podcast. So.
Actually, no. Disney
you didn't even upload it.
Disney beat you guys out. The Disney trip beat you guys out.
Reggie, we need to come back in. We need to weird them out again.
We did upload it, but yeah, that's in pieces because I can't render more than 3 hours video, and it's up in full audio wise. It's one big chunk, so both of those. Well, yeah, good chat.
You Disney.
Well, guys, this has been another episode of the Wait, What Are We Talking About podcast. My name is Bret, a.k.a. Enigma911, and today I was joined by Jeff, a.k.a. Jeff Reg, over on Twitch, and Jeff Reg Gaming on YouTube. Jeff, thanks for hanging out tonight, man. Thanks for the conversation.
Yeah, anytime.
Appreciate that. If you guys want to catch this podcast live...
the least off the rails... I think this is the least off the rails we've ever gotten.
Yeah, we were definitely focused on this one. Hey, look at us.
I definitely... It's still on the lower end of interruptions, but again, on the things we have to learn, like...
Yeah, tweaks. If you guys want to catch this podcast live, and go over to twitch.tv/Enigma911, usually every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. You join the chat like Rainbow, Jeff Register, Papa Griff, Lady Wonderland from the sidelines, all did tonight. You can hang out, join in on the conversation, join in on the craziness. We'd love to have you in on all the fun. But if you can't catch it live, why are you giving me that face, Jeff? What happened?
It sounds so weird when you say her full chat name.
Register? Sorry.
Yeah, it
Reggie.
Sounds so weird when you say the whole thing.
My bad.
I was like, who the...
Well,
what?
not everyone knows. If you can't catch it live,
that doesn't sound right.
That's A-okay. You can go over to YouTube and podcast services the very next week, where it's broken down topic by topic and put as one big video in MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, any way you can help and support, sharing, comment, likes, reviews, whatever it is. It may seem small, but it helps the channel grow, helps us out, helps our mental state.
Buy a billboard, put our faces on it.
Yes, don't do that. Anything you could do, it may seem small.
Do it.
We appreciate you for it. But yeah, thank you guys for hanging out tonight. I know, once again, a dichotomy of topics, but hopefully you guys had a good time. Hopefully we will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for the watch. Thanks for the listen, and we will see you guys later. Good night.